Hello Aries, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now. We will be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll be looking at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it, the concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we'll be looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings. They are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. On that note, the whole reading can be reversed. So if that is the case for you, that's totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what does resonate, if anything, and leave what does not. The last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Aries, let's jump on in. Let's see what you're dealing with, who you're dealing with, and what you need to know about it. Aries connection to the person they're dealing with. Aries energy toward this person. Didn't turn all the way around, so I didn't take it. If it doesn't turn all the way around or hit the table like that. Ooh, manipulation. Know your worth. Ooh, dark energy at play here, Aries. This feels like a warning. I feel like there are, okay, what this feels like is that your intuition is like on to something in this connection. It's like your intuition is trying to tell you that there's something going on, but I feel like you're doubting it. This Know Your Worth card, I think is, it's important, and I talk about it a lot on this channel. Knowing your worth is absolutely important, but I think it can get hard to know your worth when somebody's acting sketchy, right? Because you're like, I do know my worth, but like, I don't really know what to take or what to make of like this person's behavior, this person's actions. So I feel, yeah, it's like your intuition knows that there's something up, or like knows that something's going on, or like senses that there's something off here. Okay, you have interference here. I'm going to keep going. This person's energy toward Aries. Whoa. Oh, so they have follow your heart with romance, but then mirroring and robotic. I feel like this person knows like the right things to say and do, but I feel like there's a lack of depth. And I feel that because of this mirroring card, it's almost as if they're mirroring what they think you want to see, or like what they've, this is, Aries, this is some sketchy energy. I don't know what to make of this yet though, so bear with me, because I feel like it's like what they're showing up with is inauthentic here, or at the very least with this robotic card, it's very much like going through the motions and not, like, again, there's this lack of like depth. It's like this person is really good at doing the right things, saying the right things, but their actions, like how they're behaving, how they're acting, is maybe different from how, like what they're saying. it's almost as if, because I do feel like this person has feelings for you. But I will say, when someone struggles to feel like they're good enough for love or lovable or capable of love, they will, instead of showing up authentically in connections and, in a genuine, vulnerable way, what they'll do is they'll construct a version of themselves to present. And what happens is, like, that version of themselves, it feels like a dream come true in the beginning of a connection, because it's like they're doing all the right things, they're saying all the right things, but there's a lack of authenticity to it, because they're not really showing up as them. They're showing up as they think that they have to or need to in order to experience love. So then as time goes on, who they really are starts to come out. What they're really capable of, that lack of depth starts to come out. And then that's when you feel a little bit blindsided. So I don't necessarily, like, I'm not straight up saying, oh, this person is up to something bad, but I definitely feel like there is this proceed with caution kind of energy attached to this reading. Just being very careful in your approach and making sure you are really listening to your intuition, because your intuition can see right through somebody else's act. Your intuition can see when somebody isn't being genuine or when they're not being authentic, and can look past, like, what they're saying, or like I said, like, doing and saying all the right things, but not actually, like, showing up in that authenticity. Your intuition can always tell that there's something off. Now, a lot of times we struggle to listen to that because we want to believe who people show us they are in the beginning, right? But that's when we kind of experience like love bombing and then that switch up is like somebody shows up so, with all this romance and all of these promises and all of this like dream come true kind of energy, but then it switches up and we're like, well, what just happened? Like, where did that person go? And then it can start to be really damaging. So I don't know. I don't know. There's just a proceed with caution here. Make sure that this person is capable of being able to, capable of sustaining this behavior. Because there's this level of like the surface level aspect to this energy that's kind of sketching me out a little bit. Okay, truth of this connection between Aries and this person. Passion, yeah. There it is. It's like there's so much like attraction here. It didn't turn all the way around, so I don't want to take it. Trapped. There's a cycle that I feel like you have been experiencing in love that there's a need to break. And I think that what that cycle is, and I talk about this a lot on this channel, specifically in love readings, but sometimes we have to experience it, I feel like, to really understand what it means. But we have a tendency to over-prioritize how we feel about somebody, the butterflies and the excitement and the attraction, and ignore how somebody makes us feel. And even when somebody is like saying all the right things or doing all the right things, there are certain things that they do that will actually show us who they really are. Red flags, if you will, that will appear. And we sometimes have a tendency to ignore those because we want so badly for the connection to be this picture perfect person that they're presenting themselves as. But the worst thing that we can do, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to elaborate on it. The worst thing we can do is ignore red flags. Because like when somebody is communicating inconsistently or somebody, isn't reciprocating vulnerability, like they keep things very surface level or they focus on only talking about you and getting you to open up, but then they don't ever really open up, or they, dismiss your feelings or your needs in some way. Like It might be subtle, but it's always there, and it's always there right from the beginning. But sometimes we get a little bit blinded by like the smoke and mirrors of the beginning of a connection, that we overlook those things thinking that that's going to get better with time. But what happens is the things that were the smoke and mirrors eventually goes away. So what we're left with is what's always been there, but was covered up by the way that somebody presented themselves. So when there's a lack of emotional intimacy, or a lack of trust, or a lack of authenticity, it's like we might not really feel like we need that, because in the beginning everything's excited, it feels really good. Like literally in the beginning of your connections, it's like you are experiencing literal chemicals in your brain being released that make you feel really good. And sometimes we get so caught up in those that we overlook how somebody is making us feel. Are they making you feel heard, valued, seen, understood, chosen, respected? And sometimes, I've really learned that the best way to determine or to protect yourself from people who are inauthentic is to challenge that authenticity with your own authenticity and see how they respond. Because, I will say people who are inauthentic or afraid of their own authenticity are going to be very triggered by yours. They're going to make you feel like you're too much. They're going to get angry or triggered by that authenticity. And I think this is, I don't know, I just feel like Spirit is saying, like, make sure you're listening to your intuition in this connection. Or maybe this has happened to you in the past, like the kind of dynamic that I just explained. And there's a need to pay attention to what happened so that you can protect yourself from it moving forward. I know that I talk about this a lot on this channel, so I apologize if you hear me talk about it a lot, but I was in an emotionally abusive relationship about 5 years ago now. And when I first met this person, there were so many red flags. It was insane how many red flags there were. And I blissfully was just like, nope, I'm not going to pay attention to any of them. And then as the connection progressed, things just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, I don't look back on that and blame myself. I'm not like, silly, stupid girl, like, why would you do that? I look back on myself and I have empathy, because all I was trying to do was be loved, and I didn't really know how to go about it, and I wasn't, making good decisions for me, because I thought that self-abandonment, self-sacrifice was the best thing for love, blah, 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 blah. But I've really learned that people show us who they are, not with their words and not with like the surface level actions, but with their behavior. And behavior is different than action. And I wish that I could describe that in a different way, but it's like, do they call when they say that they're going to? Do they leave you uncommunicated with for like hours or days at a time? Now, people get busy, right? That's not what I'm talking about. But like, you can just tell when something's off. And I feel like this is about learning to trust your gut when something feels off with somebody. Aries side of this connection. Manipulation with know your worth. What is Aries energy toward this person? The Hermit. See, your intuition is trying to shine a light on some sort of truth here. It's like there's a need to really go within and focus on how you're feeling, not how exciting this might feel or how, I don't know, like good it felt in the beginning, but like how you're really experiencing this connection. Because I feel like there's a truth in there that's not wanting to be faced. And a lot of times when we meet somebody, we get really excited about the potential of what it could be, that we do ignore a lot of things because it's like, well, maybe it's okay if there's a couple of red flags, like blah, 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 blah. And sure, no one is perfect. And there are things that, can be like yellow flags or, can be a little bit of like, that's not great. But if we're talking about like respect or honesty, like that's where there's a need to be very, very careful in your approach and continue to check in with yourself about where you're really, like, how you really feel about how things are unfolding. For a really long time, I mean, I was in so many relationships, just back to back to back to back relationships, and I would never take time to like fully heal from one relationship before getting into another, until eventually the universe really sat me down on my booty and was like, we're gonna heal. But all of those relationships had the exact same pattern, and what it was is that I ignored a lot of things in the beginning, and got really caught up in the excitement of the connection until the connection, because eventually that goes away. The excitement, the intensity of it, like eventually those chemicals calm down, you settle into the connection, and what you're left with is the connection itself, not all the chemicals and the smoke and mirrors, right? That's why a lot of people break up around like that 6 month to like 2 year mark, is because nobody can keep up a facade forever. So eventually who you really are comes out, and things either fall apart, or you've created or established a healthy, genuine connection enough to build on that. And I would get so caught up in the excitement of it that when that connection, or when that stuff went away and I was left with the connection, I was already so deep in it that then my priority became doing what I needed to do to make the connection work, even though it wasn't. And it really wasn't since the beginning, but since things were fun and exciting in the beginning, I didn't really pay attention to that. So we have to be really careful with our approach to romantic connections, because we can get really caught up in all of that excitement, and we forget that what we really are looking for is to be loved, valued, and chosen. Like, we're looking for a partner, somebody to show up for us, someone to, hold our hand and walk by us. And I feel like you maybe have experienced kind of that fallout, or that somebody blindsiding you with their true colors. And I feel like for some reason, and specifically in this connection, it's like your intuition is trying to tell you that there's something up, or there's something going on with this person. Okay, I didn't even set an intention. I'm getting so caught up in talking. This person's energy toward Aries, robotic with romance. It's like your intuition is right about them. This person's energy toward Aries. Whoa, 8 of Wands in reverse. Two of Cups in reverse. So there's this separation from themselves. You could be dealing with an air sign, Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. You don't have to be, but you could be. I feel like this person is really disconnected from themselves. It's almost like they are not in touch with their own emotions. Therefore, they cannot respect yours. And that's dangerous, because when you're dealing with somebody who isn't capable of like respecting your feelings, or, taking them into account, that's not going to be their priority. How you feel isn't going to be their priority. And I feel like that's kind of what has happened in this connection, is it's like, again, their focus is on what they can do to get you to like love them and value them and choose them. And then it's like, once they get you hooked, then they pull back, right? Because it's not a genuine, authentic connection that they're showing up with, or like energy that they're showing up with. So then you fall in love with the love bomber in them, right? And then eventually that goes away and you're like, what did I do? And you start to look at it as if it was something you did, which I feel like is why you have know your worth, is understanding that the way that this person is acting has nothing to do with who you really are, or what your value really is. It's a reflection of them. Into the connection between Aries and this person, trapped with passion. So we got to break you out of this cycle. Completely disconnected from themselves. Yeah, because there's the Strength in reverse, and there's the Empress. Aries, you are the Empress. You are good enough. You bring so much to the table. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. We all have feminine and masculine energies within us, but you bring so much to the table, and you have a lot to give, and I feel like you're needing to really, really know your value here. Really know that you are good enough for love. but sometimes we look for it in people who like aren't capable of it. And I've really learned that that's the hardest thing, is we tend to take other people's capacity to love or to treat other people well personally, and we think that it's a reflection of our worth or our value, but it's absolutely not. I feel like this person hasn't met themselves deep enough to meet you where you want to be met. I don't know, there's just like a message of caution, like proceed with caution. That's what this feels like. Overall theme of this reading for Aries. Overall theme of this reading for Aries, please. Someone is unhappy. Closure. So it's, and some people never change. It's obvious that it's like you aren't happy with how this connection either did unfold or is unfolding. Because again, I feel like they have really pulled back, or eventually like did pull back their energy or the effort that they were giving here. And I feel like that maybe left you really confused because you've been trying to figure out what you did or like didn't do, and it just doesn't have anything to do with you. Like I feel like you're dealing with someone that quite literally isn't capable of love. Not that they're not capable, like everyone's capable of love, but depending on where they're at in their healing and growth journey, they might not be capable of it. Because people can only love other people to the extent they love themselves, and take care of other people to the extent they take care of themselves. And that is a product of healing and growth, right? That has to happen on their own time. And I feel like with this closure, if you experience like that love bombing and then the pulling away, you might be trying to make sense of what happened, because it can be a whirlwind. It's literally like, you know, someone's all of a sudden, you know, spending every second of every day giving you attention to just like nothing. And you're like, whoa, what the heck? It's like this dopamine hit that just you're completely then withdrawn from, and it can be incredibly painful. And I think that sometimes we then try to make sense of like why someone did that to us, or what, you know, why they thought that we deserved that, or why, you know, they didn't see our value enough to stay, or whatever the case is, when in reality, people, you know, who love bomb or like they prefer surface level connection. So if you've met yourself deeper and you desire a deeper emotional connection, and you know, start to require that or ask for that, or even if the connection starts to progress to that point, the person that you're dealing with is going to go, oh, no way, this isn't what I signed up for, because they only want that surface level connection. They don't want to meet themselves deeper to meet you deeper. And that has nothing to do with you literally at all. But that doesn't make it any less painful. Like, it still sucks. But that's why I feel like this is about teaching you what you can take moving forward so that you can break this cycle. Aries side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. So this is diving a little bit more into the story here. Aries side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. Maybe. The Three of Wands. I feel like because there you are. Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Wands, Ten of Swords. So I feel like you spent quite a bit of time waiting for this connection to go back to how things were in the beginning. And I think that, because this Ten of Swords, like this was painful. This was hard on you for sure. And with this Queen of Pentacles, I feel like for a while you really put up a front, like that you were okay with how things were going, or maybe even in the beginning of the connection, you pretended to be someone else too. You know, you maybe held back what you really desired and what you really needed and what you really required to be loved well. And I will say, I think that sometimes we're really taught that we have to do that, especially in today's dating world. We're taught, like, don't come on too strong, like, don't, you know, and so what we'll do is we'll change who we are, or like we'll hold back like what we really desire or want out of a connection because we don't want to scare someone off. And I've really learned that we actually need to be more comfortable with scaring people off, because that means you're scaring off people who are uncomfortable with meeting you where you desire to be met. Because I feel like what happened is it feels like you held back a lot and maybe even accepted a lot like less. Because again, there were things that were ignored, right? And I'm not saying you did it maybe even intentionally or knowingly, but maybe looking back, you're able to see that. And it's so important that you know, Aries, I'm not saying, and I know I kind of said this, but I want to elaborate and I want to really hit on this. I'm not saying you should have seen the red flags, okay? Because I know firsthand what it is like to ignore red flags, and sometimes you don't even really realize you're doing it. But then when it's over, it's like that truth of like what really went down happens, and you're like, yeah, I ignored a few things, or like those things are a lot more obvious now. So I'm not saying you did this intentionally or that this is your fault, okay? But the only thing that we have control over is our approach, right? Moving forward in relationships. And what happened to you here was very unfair. You know, how this person handled things, incredibly unfair. So the question isn't, why did they do it? Because I feel like all day long we could psychoanalyze this person and be like, oh, well, you know, like I kind of said, they don't know how to accept love. They haven't met themselves deep enough to meet you. You know, you scared them essentially, and not saying that you're too much or that you need to hold back, but that they just aren't where you're at in your emotional or your healing journey, right? We could psychoanalyze them all day long, but you have control over none of that. You don't have control over anything that this person does or where they're at. What you do have control over, though, is what you learn from it and how you take that moving forward so that you don't repeat the pattern or repeat the cycle. And I honestly feel like what this is like learning to really trust yourself when you feel like something is off, and being willing to be open and honest about who you are and what you're looking for in your relationships, and know that you're not going to scare the right people off. The right people are going to stick around, and they're going to say, I see you, I value you, and I choose you. But, you know, sometimes what happens is we wait for things to change. We wait for things to get better. And then we end up getting hurt in the long run. And then it feels even more painful because we're like, man, you know, I put up with so much. And then at the end of it, you know, I'm the one who ends up getting screwed over. Like, that is such a painful, I know firsthand how painful that is. But I do feel like it's like your intuition was right about them. And I think that there was this energy of kind of ignoring it. And I'm not, it's like, it's so hard to talk about like the truth of what needs to be seen, I feel like, without triggering people, because I'm not saying this is your fault, okay, or that you deserve this or anything like that. But again, what can you take from it moving forward so that because you can have the love you deserve and desire. That's absolutely true, right? But what can you do moving forward to make sure that you are attracting the right kind of people? This person's energy toward Aries. This is a hard reading to deliver. This person's energy toward Aries. I feel like not a lot of people are going to like me for it. So I appreciate you if you're sticking around. This person's energy toward Aries. High Priestess in reverse. I mean, there's them not listening to their intuition either. I feel like this person is so disconnected from themselves. It's like just completely emotionally unaware. Yeah, Page of Pentacles in reverse, all of this energy in reverse. It's like they lack, because yeah, everything else is upright, but then they have all of this energy in reverse. It's like they lack the ability to give you what it is that you need, but it maybe made you feel as if you lacked. They made you feel as if you lacked value. It's almost as if their inability to show up in a way that would be required for them to have a healthy, sustainable connection made you feel inadequate. But you're not inadequate, okay? This person isn't capable of giving you what you need, because this Page of Pentacles in reverse is this need to grow. And I feel like this person does have some growing up to do. And I think that they probably lack the self-awareness to recognize that they need to do that. And I think that that's what's really hard. I've talked a little bit about this in readings this week, but I think one of the most frustrating people to deal with are people who so obviously need to change, but don't, or refuse to see that they need to, and don't, take accountability for the role that they play in hurting others. And I think that that's kind of what you're dealing with this person is, I think that there's a reason people haven't met themselves deep enough to be able to create or sustain a healthy connection. And straight up, it's because they don't want to, because it's hard. Facing who you really are and meeting yourself on a deep level is really hard. Healing is hard. It is not fun. It doesn't feel good. It's always worth it in the end, but the process of it, quite frankly, sucks. And so people will spend a lifetime running from doing what they need to be able to show up appropriately in connections. And instead of trying to take it upon ourselves to do what we can to get those people to change or be different, we have to really learn to take people as they are and to appropriately adjust our actions according to what they show us. And a lot of times what that means is looking through, like looking past and seeing through the inauthenticity and being able to trust our intuition and saying, it feels like something's off here. Like you weren't honest with me, or there's discrepancies in what you said and how you acted. Or like I said, like you didn't call when you said you were, and you're not respecting my time. You showed up 30 minutes late. Like there are different things that people show you that create like that show you like how they truly do feel about you or respect you. And I think we have to learn to listen to those things instead of people's excuses. And I am not saying no one's allowed to make a mistake. Okay, the mistakes happen, sure. But when it's consistent and when it's something like over and over again, you start to go, there's a pattern here. And sometimes we ignore those patterns and hold on for the bigger picture, but then things end up being more painful in the end. And so I do feel, because with this King of Wands in reverse, it feels like this person is taking absolutely no action to fix or change themselves. And I think that that's where you have to know that it is not fair for you to take the way that they've acted personally and to look at it from this place of it having anything to do with your value, because it just doesn't. It's them. They need to grow, they need to heal, they need to work on themselves, and them choosing not to do that doesn't mean that you are not worth it. It means that they don't want to do it. They don't want to face themselves. And that it's hard and challenging when we're dealing with people like that, but we also have to be willing to focus on what's within our control. And in our relationships, the number one thing that is not in our control is what other people do. The only thing that is within our control is how we respond. So I don't know. I feel like you have every right to feel hurt and to feel the way that you do, but the question moving forward is, how do we break this cycle, right? How do we get out of this so that you don't attract people who are inauthentic, but you do attract people who can meet you where you deserve to be met? All right, we're going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to look deeper into this connection, looking at the deeper purpose of it and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Thank you so much, Aries, as always, for your support of my channel. I do hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. Bye, Aries.